From budgeting struggles to unexpected expenses, why is talking about money still so awkward? We've all been there. And let's be real, social media makes it look like everyone has it together. But do they really? Today we're breaking the silence on money, how to manage it, where we've messed up, and what we've learned along the way.
Ranisha,
Teresa.
Suzanne. No sugarcoating, no BS, just real talk about financial wins, fails, and everything in between. So grab your coffee, your budget, and maybe your therapist, because this is Sense and Sensibility on Three Voices Unfiltered.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another broadcast of Three Voices Unfiltered. I'm Teresa.
Suzanne.
Ranisha.
Wow. I'm so glad to be with y'all today.
I
love
you.
y'all.
Love you.
We love you too,
Love you.
Teresa. I love y'all.
Aw.
Anyway, let's get into our topic for today. We're going to be talking about money matters. We're going to be talking about mastering your finances.
That's good.
First thing we're going to talk about is the importance of budgeting and the impact on financial health.
That's
Okay.
deep.
Okay.
Already.
Yeah, I can say
Yeah.
I was never taught
I was
about
never
money.
taught.
Never taught, and I'm a big proponent of changing the curriculum in
In
the schools.
teaching, yes.
In
Yeah.
the schools. I
I
would
agree.
say even in elementary, you can start in elementary
You
school
can.
with some basics, you know.
Absolutely.
The importance of saving, the importance of just money, period, you know, because we need it in today's society, you know, in order to, to survive. But we start with our children, you know.
Absolutely.
And we can probably get rid of, certain subjects, but money matters. And there's a lot of people that I see and I talk to is why is that not happening? You know what I mean? And I know that there are some private schools that, that touch on the subject. But in public schools, where most of our children go,
They don't learn it.
They don't learn it. And that's
you
I
know?
actually talked about this on my Instagram account. How parents need to take more responsibility of what their
Yes.
children learn.
That's true.
Because public school doesn't give all the children everything they need. It's up to the parents to teach their children.
Mm-hmm.
Your parent is your first educator.
You start with that. You know, you can start with something as simple because, I know with my son, when from the time he was little, people were giving him, birthday gifts. It would be money, Christmas, different events. They would give him money. And what do we, I would put it aside,
That's
know,
right.
instead of
Yeah.
putting it, in the bank and letting it grow and showing him, look what happened. Look at your $25. Now it's $25.50.
That's
Okay,
That's what I
maybe a little bit
did.
more than that because we're going to put it in a high yield savings account.
Right.
Okay, but you know what I mean,
Absolutely.
And so to get them excited about it, not to get them to start idolizing money
And obsess over it.
and obsess
Yeah.
over it,
Yeah.
right? But
That's
just
not the point.
That's
That's
not
the
the
point
point.
of budgeting.
But yeah,
Of financial
because
health.
the one thing is that, and I would say this, when I retired at 62. And my thing is that if I had to do it all over again, I would do some things different and retire early. And that's when I talk to young people. I'm like, why do you have to wait till 62? Why not 55? What's
That's
wrong
what I
with that?
said. I want to
Why
retire
not
55.
Why not 55? Because let's just say you start working, at 18 years old, okay, maybe 18, or maybe say 22, because that's the average age that people graduate from college, getting their bachelor's. Okay, from the age of 22 to 55.
That's doable.
It's
You can
That's
do that
doable.
if you're smart.
And that's one thing I taught Kevin. I opened a savings or a checking and a savings account, like you said, and when he was 20, maybe 14 or 15, and I taught him how to save money. I taught him. I made a lot of financial mistakes, which I'll share as we continue, but I wanted to teach him from my mistakes. So when he was 16 years old, I got a Discover card, and I added him to the Discover card to teach him about credit. So the rule was you cannot use this card, first of all, unless you ask me. In case of an emergency, you can use it. and I defined what an emergency was. It wasn't, oh, I was hungry, I'm going to McDonald's and I used a credit card. That's not what it was.
Right.
So he was very responsible. And I think that to this day, I know that he's very financially savvy, and he pays his credit cards every month, or credit card. And that's the things that we didn't learn. Look, I grew up when I was in my 20s. So to take it back, growing up, there was no credit. Credit was buying something from the guy in the store down the street. No, my family had credit cards. Cash was king. Everything was cash.
Everything was, yes.
He had the guy had a little notebook where he would write down what was bought, and then when my grandpa got paid, he would pay the guy off. So I didn't grow up with credit cards. So then I'm in my 20s, and it was the age of instant credit. I don't know if you remember, all the signs outside had instant credit. I'm like, oh, instant credit. So we would get approved for instant credit.
Yep.
And it was like, I won the lottery, I'm gonna buy new furniture. So then doing that, you kind of, because I didn't know, it's only $10 a month. We can pay that. But it's not $10 a month. It's $20 if you want to pay it off because of the interest. So anyhow, we didn't know. We weren't taught. And it's amazing to me. I was teaching a college and career readiness course to adults. There were a few high schoolers, but mostly to adults. They were college students. And we covered this topic. And most of them were not okay financially. Most of them had no idea of what healthy finances looked like and how to get there. So I was able to teach them, and over again, it came up what you said, that this needs to be taught in schools.
It does.
And if it's not taught in schools, then I'll go up to what you said, then parents need to step up and teach it.
Absolutely. You can start teaching children as early as 3 years old about money. They know about money.
They know.
My grandchildren know about money. And just showing them how it works. Like, you need money to do things. I used to make my children pay for going to the movies. If they had money and I put it away for them, they wanted to go to the movies, I would ask them, how much do you have? So they could get a sense of what it takes. And Trey, who went on to be a financial person and work for Merrill Lynch for a little bit, he would be like, oh, $10 and it's $7? No, I don't want to go. I stay home.
Kevin was thrifty as well. Like, he had his money and he would save it, and it teaches them, if he wanted a big toy or game system or whatever, save for it. And I think they appreciate it more because they actually worked for that.
Absolutely.
So financial literacy needs to start at home when they're young, and I think I would have been a lot better off with credit and debt. I would not have been in debt. I don't think I would have. And then what you said, another thing I mentioned to Kevin is, don't wait until you're 50 to start putting money in your 401k or into retirement or whatever.
Exactly.
Start now, because if you start now, and I think we did we were listening to a video or something, and I shared with him, I said, you start out by the time, hypothetical, if you make this much, you can have this much when you're 55 or 60. Like, it could be over $1 million if you do it well and you do it right. So you could retire as a millionaire. But these are not the things that we were taught.
We weren't taught that, because I know that when I put together my 401k portfolio, I made sure that I was diverse in it. You know what I mean? So you got to teach diversity in your savings. Because I have things such as savings bonds. I have those. I think it takes 25, 30 years for them to mature, but the point is safe. CDs, because CDs, the return is higher now, but there was one point where it wasn't good to invest in CDs,
So I want to add ownership, home ownership,
land
ownership as a realtor, as a real estate broker. Teaching children early how to purchase a home, what it requires. So then that comes in your credit score. What's your credit score? This is what it consists of. This is why your credit score goes up or why it goes down. That's all tied into finances and how budgeting.
And generational wealth.
And generational wealth. And how you can pass down from your children and their children and their children but definitely home ownership. If I bought a house when I was 21, oh my goodness. Back it was so cheap.
And I know your $1,000 you can get a nice house.
Yeah, and I know people right now who have bought homes in their 20s, you know.
Yep.
I didn't buy my first home until I was 41, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I mean? I was like 41 years old when I bought the first house, you know. And I told my son, I said, don't sell my house. You know. Well, the second house. I said, don't sell my house. And I'm gonna tell you something about what you were saying, Suzanne. I didn't buy my house, you know, for me. Okay? Because I could be happy. I'm living in a one-bedroom apartment, happy. Okay, happy. But I bought it, you know, for investment purposes.
Exactly.
You know? I bought it for investment purposes, you know. So yeah. So when we teach our children about property, and not just physical homes, but land as well.
Land as well.
And it's not just about buying a house. Is not always the ideal thing. It depends on your situation, because you know, like living in DC or New York right now, buying a house is impossible. Almost, you have to have a double income, and real estate is location, right? So in real estate does go up and down.
Yes.
But the bottom line is that that's yours. So that's where the generational wealth comes in.
Absolutely.
You get to keep it and you can pass it on. It may not be as valuable as when you first bought it. It may not go up in value. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have this piece of property that's yours.
It's rare if it doesn't go up. It's for real estate. It's rare if it doesn't go up in value.
Even if
it's very rare.
Even if it's big, you know, a little bit at a time, but
even if it's a little bit at a time, it's gonna go up. But here's the key: it's an asset that you can utilize to get something else, to do something else in your life.
And that's what you're putting together. That you just have it. It doesn't have to be, you know, thinking, I'm gonna buy this house and in 5 years it's gonna be double the price. And no, that's not the point. The point is that this piece of land is your land, and it can go to the next person.
Yeah, it's ownership. It's ownership, and the wealthiest people in the United States are owners. Ownership. Okay. Homeowners.
Yeah.
So financial wealth or literacy or health or whatever, it's not all about owning a home. There's other things that will take you there, like your budget and your discipline and things like that. So what did you think? What are some of your experiences and how you did that?
I know for me, because I was young, I had 4 children. It's about managing what you have.
There you go.
It's about taking what you have and deciding from that how you can live. And if you don't like what you have, then trying to acquire more. And that's what I did. I noticed I wasn't making enough to live the way that I wanted to live. So let me get a degree so I can put myself out there to make more money, so that I can go up a little bit. I can pay a little bit more in rent. I can now maybe position myself to buy a home one day. So it's about taking that $1,500 that you have a month and saying, okay, well, $1,500, this is all I can do for now until I can do better.
So pretty much you're saying live within your means.
That's what I'm saying.
Live within your means.
And or below if you can.
Or
that's
below,
even better.
Because so my experience has been when I was younger and when I was raising my son, I used to what I call chase money. And what I would do is I wouldn't stay on the job too long. It was like I would go to this job, I wasn't making a certain amount of money, right? And so then I would be there a year and a half or whatever, and then I would go on. I was always looking for the next job to make more money. Okay. And at that time, I was living in New Jersey, and I was unemployed at one point, and then it came up in my spirit. I said, New York is 30 minutes away. So I started working in New York. So I worked in Manhattan for, quite a few years, making more money and then bringing that money home to New Jersey where the cost of living was less. And what I used to do is, you guys, paper and pen, old fashioned, but remember, this is back in the 80s and the 90s. And I would sit there and I would do a budget. And I would say, okay, rent is due. This is what it is. Utilities is this. in insurance is this. The times that I had a car at that time, or if I didn't have if I had a car note insurance. If I didn't, the times I didn't have a car, bus pass. Okay, because you can get a bus pass. Because living in New Jersey, New York, a lot of mass transportation, I was blessed like that. So paper to pen, and then there were times where I did not have enough to pay all of my bills. So I just had to become creative. Call the utility company. May I, get on a plan? Can I pay half, this time, and then half this time? So you have to be creative. And one of the things
that was real life.
Yeah, and one of the things that you should not do is that if you can't pay your bills, do not ignore the company that you got the services.
Call them.
That's right.
Call them, because they will work with you. Because the bottom line is that as long, and I don't know all the collections laws or whatever, but if you're paying them, you know what I mean, you just don't want that to have a negative effect on your credit report. Because unfortunately in this country, it is about your, a lot of things that you want to do is all about your credit score and what that is.
And your credit score is used now even for employment. They'll do credit checks.
Yeah,
certain positions will not be offered to you because.
So I did it. They
do a credit check.
Yeah.
So
as far as budgeting, which we're transitioning to budgeting. Like I said, it was, you really, really, and you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to say what you can and can't do. Everybody wants to add entertainment, to their budget, and there's nothing wrong with that.
If it fits in the budget.
If it fits in the budget, you have to fit it, or you have to plan for it. Because I remember with my son, let me tell you how creative I was back in the day, back in the 80s, y'all. I couldn't afford to just take my son, okay, we going to Disney World or we going to this resort or whatever. So what I would do was I would get my family involved. And what we would do, we would rent, we would go to some, resort or whatever, and we would rent a house, you know what I mean? And then when everybody is pitching in, you're there for, a week, 5-7 days, then you it's less expensive for you. You don't get hard hit with that. But guess what? We went on vacation.
That's right.
So I had to do that. So you have to be creative. And we didn't have Google. We didn't have Google and all kinds of apps and resources, at our hand. So in this day and age, it's like, especially like on Facebook and IG and whatever, they have groups, you know what I'm saying, that can help you with with budgeting, because I'm real helpful when I'm in different groups, and I'll give my experience, because the point is to help other people, learn from, my mistakes or whatever, and then you learn something yourself. I mean, I'm still, of course I'm learning something, all the time, and I was like, oh, well, I didn't think to do that, so the key word here is just being creative with your finances, but please pay your bills.
Yeah, for entertainment, because entertainment was the one that mostly got cut off. Every Thursday when my son was in elementary school, I'm talking young, 5, 6, 7, little dude. They don't care. They just want to spend time with you. Every Thursday we went to the library and we got books and we got movies and we get cassettes and that's what we used to do. So and we would have Fridays we would do pizza and a movie, and I would go to Little Caesars. Get $5 pizza.
That's what I did. I did the same thing.
What I did was I didn't know at the beginning to do these things. So I made mistakes. I used credit cards more than I should have. I borrowed money more than I should have. And I didn't really get it together until my first husband and I got divorced. Then I really had to do a budget. Yeah. And back before that, I mostly would do a budget, but I didn't really know what I was doing. But when we started working together, that's when I kind of somehow I embraced budgeting. I don't even know how we started budgeting. Remember, we did the envelopes.
I was going to say that. You did the envelopes.
We did the envelopes.
I remember that.
So there's many systems.
Okay, explain to them the envelopes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of systems that you can do, but we've heard about the envelopes and we started doing the envelopes. And so you take your budget and decide what's going to groceries, what's going to gas, what's going to entertainment, rent, And you literally, now you can do it digitally. You don't have to have it physical, but we would have physical white letter envelopes and we put our cash in it. And I don't know, whatever I designated for entertainment, let's say probably $50, it would go in the envelope. And once that $50 was gone, you're not entertaining anymore or eating out. I had an envelope for dining out. And maybe I didn't spend all of the money in gas and I had a 20 left, then I can move that 20 if I wanted to use it for something else. But there's envelopes out there that you can use. Mint.com is one that I used to suggest to my students. It will tell you how much you're spending and where. What else did we do? We used to clip coupons. But
you did that a lot.
We did.
I remember that.
Coupon. Kevin hated it. Every time we went out to dinner or lunch, I have a coupon. And he bought no coupons.
Remember that show, Extreme Couponing?
Yes.
People would get things for like
Nothing.
$2.
Yes. Free
Carts
sometimes.
full of stuff.
Sometimes they give you money. Like I would be, but the message, I guess, is your financial health takes planning. And one quote that I hear often is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
That's
so
true.
if you don't have a budget and you're just going with it and then you find yourself, oh, I don't have any more money left, it's going to affect your credit. And credit, some experts say, credit is not everything. You don't need credit if you have cash. That's true. But if I don't have millions of dollars in the bank to go buy a house cash, I need credit. I need to have credit to buy a house.
And I would say, I didn't realize the importance of credit until I tried to buy my first house. And I realized how low my credit score was. I'm like, what? Then I started researching my credit and trying to figure out how I can improve it. I fixed my own credit so I could get qualified for the loan for my brand new house. And that's how I started my journey. I was definitely in my late 30s figuring this out about credit.
That's right.
I saw a commercial yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh, that was me. So my first house story was, I wanted to get a house and I was with this person and we were supposed to get a house together. Well, this person kept putting it off. We were supposed to build a house together. Kept putting it off, whatever reasons, it doesn't matter. I said, I'm going to get my own house then. If we're not getting a house together, I'm going to go buy it myself. Well, I was kind of bluffing because I knew that my credit wasn't great. I didn't think I had great credit. We weren't making that much money when we were working at, but I thought, I'm going to follow through. I went to a broker and she said, you're pre-approved.
Wow.
And I was in shock. She said, however, I need you to fix this, pay off this. And I started calling people, paying off debt, went back and she said, yeah, start looking. But because I took that first step. And single, I was going to say ladies, but I'll do singles in general. In the commercial that I saw yesterday was exactly like that. The person was with someone and she was waiting for them to buy a house together, thinking that, oh, you can't do it by yourself. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You may have to tweak a few things.
A single person, one of the best purchases is just a condo or a townhouse. It doesn't have to be a single family home. It's less upkeep. And they're lower price point. And you can get a really nice one. So sometimes under $200,000. So I just talked about that. But I was going to say that, you don't know what you don't know until you need to know it.
And that's why it's so good to talk to people. I know that I'm a pretty private person, but I talk to people and I share information, because I know someone who's interested in trying to buy a house now, even in, I know two people. In today's market,
they refer them to me.
Okay. And the thing is that, one is waiting. Well, both of them are waiting because the interest rates, are so high.
Right.
But what I told them, I said, there are programs out here. There are programs out here. You just have to, like I said, this is my favorite word. You just have to be creative, and you got to do your, your research. And do you know when you start looking you start looking, and then you go over here, and then you'll find this, and you go over there, and then it'll lead you to that, you know. But if you're determined, no matter what your circumstances is, and it may not be today, all right, then you can build up your 401k savings. You can build up your emergency fund. You can purchase that house. You can get that car. You can. You just have to be diligent, and you have to sacrifice. It's going to be a sacrifice.
I call it discipline.
Discipline.
Like you have to
Okay, yeah.
When you have a budget, you have to be disciplined. You can't. So create a budget that is practical.
Yes.
And
Realistic.
It's a smart budget because you don't want to make a budget. Oh, I can do this and that, and then halfway through the month you're out of money. Like that's not going to work. So your budget has to be. And if you don't know how, sit with an expert. And there's tons of resources online.
Tons of free things.
Tons of free budget worksheets. I mean, back in the day, I would buy books. You don't have to buy a book anymore. You can go online, there's budget calculators. I mean, there's all kinds of resources. But I think if we were to give some advice, the first would be get rid of your debt. Right? Debt reduction. So first you got to set a budget that leads to debt reduction. And then from debt reduction, canceling altogether, like no debt if possible, and then start your investments. I think it's a pretty practical advice.
And I would say, get a second job. I mean, work a part-time job, work from home. If you have debt that you need to pay off because you weren't responsible, get another job, a small job, maybe work from home where you can pay off and use that money to decrease your debt ratio.
And the snowball strategy is a good strategy to follow. So you can Google that snowball strategy, but it's basically where, let's say I have 3 credit cards, you can either choose the one with the highest interest rate, or you can choose the one with the lowest balance. I think the one with the lowest balance might get you excited because you pay it off quicker. So you pay the minimum payments on 2 of the credit cards, and you pay a little more on the one that you're choosing to pay off. Once that one's paid off, then you take the payment from that one and you follow it, put it on the next one. And it's just, that creates a snowball effect. But that's a really good way to get out of, and it works. It's a great way to get out of debt. That's how I did it. And it just, gosh, when you send that last payment, it's amazing.
Isn't it great? And keep your keep your credit cards to a minimum. You don't only need 5 or 7 credit cards. You just need like
1 or 2.
2 good credit cards.
2 good credit cards.
And pay them off. If, like, I give myself it's kind of like a rule that if I can't pay off my credit card, now mind you, sometimes it gets over because things happen, but I'll try to, if I only have, I don't know, I'm throwing a number, $500 to pay off my credit card this month, I will try not to charge more than that because I want to pay off my credit card.
I pay off my credit card at the end of every month.
Yes.
Because I don't use cash because there's so many scams with debit. So I use my credit card. Somebody used my credit card in Pennsylvania the other night. Because I went and got gas.
Gas stations are a
gas
big one.
station. And next thing I know, they were at Family Dollar using my credit card. And they text me, do you know this? I stopped it, but whatever. So I never use debit cards anywhere. But I pay off my credit cards before the 30 days so that it doesn't appear.
Interest.
Yeah,
because
no interest and it doesn't appear.
We give so much money to the bank. And another one was, do you know how much banking charges for bad checks? Or going over your credit line. I'm not here to make them rich. I don't use checks anymore. But there's people that do. Or don't give the bank any money. Like keep your stuff straight.
It's free money for them. You know what I mean?
I feel like we need a Three Voices Unfiltered course workshop. We need to do one.
We should do that. That would be fun.
Join us next week for part 2 of this episode.
Do us a big favor and hit that like button, share this episode, and subscribe.